Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Adeptus Ridiculous. I'm DK, and I'm slowly learning more about Warhammer from my good friend Bricky. Bricky,
you did it.
I did it. We
did it. You said the other thing last episode. We're like, when are you gonna not know nothing about Warhammer anymore? That's double negative. But when are you gonna finally not say that? Like, you did it.
It's finally happened because I am slowly learning. Like the last episode, like there was when you started talking about the orcs and how they got their psyker stuff, I was like, dude, pieces, they're fitting.
They're coming together.
It's all coming together. This is character development. Yes, there's an arc. This is great. But tell the people a little bit about yourself, Bricky, because this is going on your YouTube channel today, right?
Yes. So this is episode 3 of the Adeptus Ridiculous podcast. Episode 1 and 2 are located at Quiet Shy's channel on YouTube as well. I will leave a link in the description. And they're also going on our new YouTube channel on Adeptus Ridiculous. Just Adeptus Ridiculous on YouTube. That's a mouthful. Oh my God.
Adeptus Ridiculous is as ridiculous as a name as it sounds.
Oh, but that is also another YouTube channel, and all the episodes will be going on there as well as the various podcast sites. So this is the last one that is going to be going on our associated channel. So if you want to see episodes 4 through God knows what, it'll all be on their area. So check the description for all that kind of stuff. But besides that, yes, I am Bricky. I have been a almost lifelong Warhammer fan, the lore for a while, played the game, and I am telling DK slowly but surely the history, the lore, the world of Warhammer. We started off with the Death Corps of Krieg for episode 1, kind of like a nice little, like a fun fan requested one. Then we jumped into the War in Heaven and the Silent King with the Necrons, and today, you want to tell the people what we're doing?
We're doing the Eldar. And I'm really excited about it because everybody always talks about the Eldar. They always talk about how the Eldar murder-fucked Slaanesh into existence. And then whenever I talk to, like, if there's a somewhat lore expert in the room, like Luton, he's like, no, that's kind of an exaggeration. They didn't really murder-fuck a god into existence. So I'm ready for the record to be put straight and to learn all this stuff. But before you get in too much into detail, we do have a Patreon that you guys should check out, patreon.com/AdeptusRidiculous. If you like the podcast, if you want to support the podcast, we hit our first stretch goal of $100 to cover all of the podcast and website hosting. Next goal is a stretch goal of 1,000, and then we'll be able to do weekly episodes. So check it out, patreon.com/AdeptusRidiculous. Bricky, Eldar, let's go.
Oh, in a second, I do want to say it's 1,000 that we're doing for the weekly episodes. So if they want to see weekly episodes, hitting that 1,000 point. And you know what's even better? Is the money is split between the 3 of us. So if you're like, that shy person, don't really like him, but that DK person, that guy's a champ. Like, hey, it still works.
I don't know who's going to say that, dude. I really don't know who's going to say, hate that shy, but boy, I really love DK.
Hey, there's got to be someone.
Sure,
there's that one guy out there, and his name is Bricky. So, moving...
Aw, jeez, the warm fuzzies.
You know, you actually got me a little bit worried now, because you say warm fuzzies, but me saying that means I shit on Shy. But you actually got me worried now, because you said that Luton's like, they didn't really murder-fuck a god into existence, and I was about to say, I gotta change my notes. I guess they didn't. I think Luton knows everything, and when you know everything, there's too many actualies. So there will definitely, and I do mean definitely, be a couple adjustments here, but I am here for the short version. That's my whole goal.
Watch Luton will respond to this with like a tweet and be like, DK, I didn't say that. You're a liar. How dare you misquote me?
Isn't that funny though? Because by saying that alone, he's doing an actually.
That's true. We got him.
You can't win, Luton.
Got him. We got you, Luton.
We got to have him on the podcast one day, though.
Yeah, special guest, Luton. Yeah.
Okay. So the Eldar. So you actually mentioned that you were actually kind of excited about the Eldar, both because people were talking about it. Do you like elves in general or something?
Not really. I mean, elves are fine.
Me too.
Elves are fine, you know, the usual meme about why you like elves. But also I know there's like is it a subset like the Dark Eldar that are all kinds of fucked up too, and they're real weird, and they look like Stalker from Warframe, and obviously a big fan. So I just think they're really cool and really interesting from what I've seen of like the minis. So I'm kind of just stoked to learn about them and why they look so damn cool and what they're all about.
That's fair. I think definitely the Craft World Eldar, which is kind of like your vanilla Eldar. I think their minis are a little bit weird. They have like bowling pin heads. But the Drukhari or the Dark Eldar, they look cool. They have like Jabba the Hutt skiffs. They're like lots of like raiders, and they have they're pretty creepy. Anyway, yes. So the Eldar, also known as the Eldari, spelt stupidly weird, Aeldari, Eldari.
Oh, that is weird. That's
fucking
a very weird
the
way to spell
fucking
it.
Brits. I swear to God, they put A's and U's and everything.
Luton
Gray
cannot
is
win
spelled-
this episode, dude.
Gray is spelled with an A, you idiots. A.
Oh God.
So the Fall of the Eldari is a big part of the Warhammer lore, right? So if you had to go with the three biggest events in history, we already did the War in Heaven. The Horus Heresy was the bigger one, or another big one, and then the Fall of the Eldar. And I think they would go in the order of Heaven, Eldar, and then Horus. The Fall of the Eldar is a pretty big deal. And it's generally referred to as the Fall of the Eldar, as opposed to just learning about the Eldar in their own right. So, as you may remember from our last episode, we talked about the War in Heaven, and how the old ones were like kind of pushing races, giving them a little bit of love. And I was thinking of a different kind of metaphor for that. And do you remember? I know we all like Mass Effect around here, but do you remember when the Protheans gave like the Asari like their biotics and kind of like taught them a little bit?
Oh yeah. I remember.
Yeah,
that.
it's kind of like that, but a little bit more powerful and 40k like.
Okay.
So that, they kind of like raised up the Eldar, helped them out a lot. And so after the Necrons did their giant murder, war, genocide, they all went to bed, right?
Of course.
And so then the only people who really remembered them in the long annals of history were the Eldar. And so a lot of the actual lore from the Necrons you might get from Eldar, because they're the only people who even remember them. But the Eldar at the time, this is around, I'd say, early 30th millennia. So the Horus Heresy took place at around year, what was it, 30,000, 31,000, I think, something around there. So this is a bit before that, right? This is a bit before that. And the Eldar, the humans were kind of just stuck to their own solar system, or if they weren't, they were just barely any farther.
Right.
The Eldar spanned the whole galaxy. They were everywhere. They were just the dominant race. The only other race that could even challenge them were having nappies in tombs. And they didn't even notice them. The good old Necrons. Necrons were all having a nap, and the Eldar were they're everywhere.
So
and
no challenger, period. There's nobody that's going to really do anything to them.
Tyranids haven't arrived. I mean, maybe the orcs, but they weren't really a problem at the time. You could have had some demons and stuff here and there, but they weren't as prominent. They were just the dominant race. They were as much of a threat as any other animal that's not a human are as a threat to humans currently, like on Earth in modern day. Like the only time there's any threats for us right now is like, I don't know, you're with a bear in the wilderness, and if you have a gun, who cares, right?
Sure.
Like nothing is challenging us right now.
And with the bear, you can play dead and it'll go away. So
I watched this movie called The Revenant, and I don't know if that's true.
Oh, well, fair. Forgot about that movie, but you bring up a good point, sir.
So the Eldar, they themselves as a race, they're obviously space elves. They got the pointy ears and everything. And they were master tier psychers. They were insanely, and then the entire race was basically all psychers to an extent. And as they are all psychers, they have the ability to be able to just really, it's difficult to explain just the sheer volume of what they could do, of how much they could do. In fact, they had such a mastery of the warp and the immaterium that they could, in fact, like form physical materials out of its essence alone. They call this stuff called like Wraithbone. There's a bunch of units in the Eldar Codex called like Wraith Knights, Wraith Guard, Wraith Lords, and that's like a special material that they can create out of the energy of the warp itself. And they're actually it's pretty damn fucking strong. It's like a psycho-technological thing. It's very weird, but the fact that they can take like the essence of hell and turn it into constructs, they're doing pretty hot.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good ability to have, sure. Yeah.
They're doing perfectly fine. Yeah. But so the problem is that, and you know, I'm sorry, but I'm going to use porn a lot in this episode. Because it is the best example for a lot of this stuff. All right. So at some point around like the 24th, 25th millennium, somewhere around there, the Eldar reached the point of excessive stagnation. They had to do nothing. The individual had no like point. They had so much that was just free. They had no shortage of food. They could travel using the webway, which is just better than warp travel in almost every single way. There's nothing that you as a citizen are worried about. You have no struggles of almost any kind. And so I said porn because it reminds me of the concept where like 20 years ago, you had your good old man woman stuff, right? You had more bushes than Vietnam War down there. Like it was just good old 80s stuff. And you know, as time went on, it got a little bit different, and then Japan got involved.
And then Japan got involved.
And they made it animated, and they added other things. And now, if you wanted to look up a werewolf girl with a dick, you can find it. It's there.
Oh yeah,
right?
Easily. You say that, and I'm just like, yeah, that sounds like something on the internet. Sure, it doesn't even surprise me. It's not even flabbergasted. That's just that's not even the weirdest thing you'd find.
By far not. And so because of this, the Eldar themselves experienced emotions, just their own personal emotions, much more powerful than humans do. All kinds of sensations, pain, sadness, happiness, pleasure, all that kind of stuff, all was like at a good old 50% up compared to a normal human. So because of this, and the fact that they simply did not have anything that the individual needed, they started creating this wonderful thing known as pleasure cults.
Oh boy, this sounds like a riot. Let's go.
So a pleasure cult. So think of it like you got like a politician, right? And the politician sneaks away to that back alley where a bunch of women like just start like punching each other and then have sex. And they just find like depraved random shit like that. Like there's always that politician that goes in the background and finds that creepy underground crap. Did you watch The Boys?
The Boys. I just started it, dude. I'm like 2 episodes in.
Perfect. Remember the first episode they go to that club and it's all the superheroes are in the club and they're all just doing a bunch of fucked shit?
Yeah. They're like having levitation sex and like the bendy dudes doing all that weird. It's shit
like that. So pleasure cults were that, and it was all dedicated to the experience of every sensation, pleasurable and painful, that life had.
Okay.
And so this kind of like started to really move its way up. And as the politicians got into it and as regular people got into it, they started like having their pursuits go a little bit crazy and more extreme and more depraved. Eventually, like legitimate murder and torture became just as bit of an art form as painting, as music. It was as normal.
That's wild.
It's insane that they would get, you can get to that idea, but you can kind of understand the concept that like, once it's so, you as a person is so stagnant, you have nothing to do and you have no purpose. Pursuing this stuff isn't that surprising. And to the point where you could go and you could see a show, and that show was the actual like torture and maiming of other people. And these were like volunteers because they wanted to experience pain because it was like a form of sensation. And the Eldar, they lived like almost immortal. They lived long, well, unless you were on stage, but they lived for God knows how long. Yeah, they never suffered from like Alzheimer's type stuff. They never got senile. They didn't have disease. Their psychic powers, they were just so insanely powerful, and they lived so long that they were able to develop even more crazy ways of torturing and killing people. God. And they were able to do it at rates just never before seen. Sooner or later, eventually, with the government taking part in it, it became this point of like Jack the Ripper type stuff, like on a street corner, you'd find people like murder fucking,
just on the streets, just
happening.
Jesus Christ!
Like death was everywhere in the millions of lives. People were just consistently like boning and murdering each other because that was the only thing they had going for themselves. They had these cults, these pleasure cults. They were so interested in it. And then these fucking boomers came along. And then some of these goddamn boomers were like, you know what? This is some smut. And they left. And so some Eldar were like, oh man, our society is getting a little bit corrupt, man. I don't know if I like this. And so a lot of them would just bail. And they would go to like colonies on the far, far, far reaches of space.
Just to get away from it all. Yep.
Yeah, those are the boomer Eldar. They're known as the Exodites, because exile.
Because they exited, huh? Right?
Yeah.
I got jokes.
I heard that Shai has a gun, and I'm waiting. Okay, I don't like JoJo, but that one part when he like turns the paper and the gun comes out.
Yeah.
I'm expecting a gun to come out of my screen to blast me. So continuing. So as we continue and as it goes on, and actually this is the part that I mentioned with the porn stuff. So I don't peruse this very much at all, but I have seen the great meme of that farmer guy who says like, it ain't much, but it's honest work. And it's all of those tags on like hentai websites. And it's like all of those insanely depraved tags.
Oh God.
And it has to moderate them. And it's like shit like that. So that was just the Eldar society with those tags. Screenshot those tags. Bottom text, top text, Eldar society. We live in an Eldar society.
Oh boy. I mean, I guess when you open those floodgates and you're so stagnant and you're looking for like any sensational high, it's gonna get out of control and it's gonna get crazy. And I guess this is like the epitome of shit just got wild.
Ironically, and people always forget this, that 40K is a satire. It is a satire of many things. And the Eldar is a satire on what happens when we reach to just an insane degree of, I think the word is hedonism or whatever it is, but just, constantly pursuing your own personal pleasures and the dangers that can come with.
Sure.
So as that continued, a lot of the time, with all these people dying, naturally, as you know about the warp, a soul enters the warp when it is killed. Right. Because it's basically hell. The problem was that Eldar, because we had in the billions of people being murder fucked to death and all that shit, they would enter the warp not only in huge numbers, but they would also enter the warp as psychers, and psyker souls are far more powerful than regular souls, and they're dying feeling such immense pain and or pleasure.
Right.
And it's just a bloat, right?
Yeah.
Just like how the War in Heaven bloated the warp, exact same deal here. Because you had uber powerful psychic beings experiencing insanely large heights of emotions and numbering in the billions. Right?
I was legitimately about to say, it's just like what happened with the War in Heaven when those certain sections got super bloated because it's
the realm
of chaos. It was like it was like centuries long war or something and people are dying. I was like, it's the same thing. It's, people are dying with these specific like emotions, and that one portion of the warp is going to get over bloated and
here we are. So so just like how Khorne, Tzeentch, and Nurgle were kind of quote unquote bloated or creative. This is still the question: was Slaanesh birthed, or were they more so just given the ability to become bigger? And that's the real like in between. I'm more on the line that they just got the ability, because the warp itself fucks around with time. And so it makes a lot more sense that in the realm of chaos, you had Khorne, Nurgle, and Tzeentch, and now they're all big players. But then you had Slaanesh somewhere in there, tiny little realm, right? Little apartment building. And because of that, this is a very specific kind of chaos, right?
Yeah.
Excessive, like the Prince of Pleasure, the unspeakable excess. And to have that bloated, it does make sense that it wouldn't really happen in the War in Heaven, especially because they were robots.
No emotions there.
No souls.
No souls. Fair.
So then, after enough time and effort, though, our good friend Slaanesh, which is known as the Prince of Pleasure. Slaanesh doesn't really have a gender per se. They just are. A lot of the Slaanesh models and stuff, they look, I think the term is androgynous. They look like male-female hybrids. Often they kind of have that in-between thing. So they're called the Prince of Pleasure, but they don't really have a particular left or right.
They don't have like a gender role.
No, they're just Slaanesh.
Yeah.
But as that happens, the Prince of Chaos then, after that, started to really start to bundle up, and it started to reach a tipping point. A bunch of Eldar were like, shit's getting fucked. There's a bunch of warp storms going on right now because of all of us dying. We're blowing up the hell itself is starting to screech out and cause problems. This was an issue, and so a whole bunch of Eldar evacuated on these gigantic continent-sized starships known as craft worlds. And that is where craft world Eldar come from.
Oh, I see. I didn't know what a craft world was. I thought that was just like what they called their home planet or something. I thought
it's not even
whatever
a planet.
the Eldar's planet was, that was the craft world. I didn't realize that was a continent-sized ship that they were escaping on.
Yeah, imagine like the flotilla in Mass Effect with the with the Quarians. So they left on these these giant starships. And I think they were created out of that Wraithbone type construct, or at least something similar to it. That's why
makes sense,
they're crafted worlds, craft worlds. So because they all started running out there, because they're like, oh man, oh no, we're reaching a breaking point. Oh, we're getting too proud. We fucked up. And so they start to bail. And at that point, good old Slaanesh just kablamo just came right into existence. Referred to, I believe, well, they have lots of names. They have the Great Enemy, She Who Thirsts. But the main thing was that Slaanesh took its like first breath was the concept. And that breath just inhaled all of the Eldar souls. Slaanesh just arrived and was just like...
Jesus Christ.
It was... Oh my god, it was insane. The death toll was like in the trillions. It is...
So Slaanesh just showed up, inhaled, all Eldar in that area are dead. Every Eldar's dead.
They inhaled so goddamn hard. Did we talk about the Eye of Terror?
I don't think we did.
Okay, so... I like to... okay, so let me make... It's like... okay, I'm gonna use a Minecraft example here.
Oh boy.
Did you play much Minecraft, DK?
Not really. This is gonna be really good. Do it anyway, for the people.
Okay, so you know what the Nether is though, right?
Nope.
It's like the hell with like all the lava and shit.
Sure.
Okay. There's a thing called the Nether. It's like hell, like lava and crap. You can make portals into said Nether. Okay. I always refer to the Nether, the hell in Minecraft, very similarly to the warp in Warhammer, because it's a smaller field. So if you made a portal into the Nether and you walked a certain distance, maybe 10 paces, it was actually like 100 paces in the real world. So if you were to make another portal 10 paces away, you're actually way farther away when you come out of it.
Sure.
So, because of that, in particular, there is no in-between, right? You have to portal into the Nether, portal out. And that's kind of how warp travel works with the Imperium. You go into the warp, and then you travel a shorter pace than it actually would require, and then you come out in order to do interstellar travel.
Gotcha.
The Eye of Terror is like somebody took a big knife and shanked the fabric of reality. And so when Slaanesh was birthed, there's now a giant crack rift in the real world that allows the other world to spill out of it. So someone cracked the dimensions in two. There's like a zipper that's been undone.
Yeah.
And so now, because when she birthed, now instead of just the real world and the warp, we have the real world, the warp, and we've got this tiny little hole that's connecting the two of them in real space.
Oh,
and
that
demons are
bad.
just like, whoa, we're out, boys, I'm free.
They opened the prison cell, and now they're all out, and oh boy, that... that doesn't
The Eye of
good.
Terror has arrived. And so Slaanesh basically just immediately bodied about like trillions of Eldar. And the only people that lived were a couple. So
Really?
pretty much all of the ones that were psychers and stuff, because the warp, big psyker thing.
Sure.
They had their souls just immediately ripped from their bodies and permanently stuck in the warp to be like tortured and murdered forever. Because yummy.
Yum. They
but-
must love that.
Yeah, they were.
It's heaven, actually, for them.
Well, sort of, not quite. It's a little rough.
Oh no.
Depends on the people. But many of the people who fled the Exodite, the Boomer Eldar, they also had their souls sucked from them. The people in the craft worlds, a couple of them also had it. The only people that lived were people who found this thing called like a soul stone. And these soul stones are like this nice little relic type deal that you could hold on your body to stop Slaanesh from eating your soul.
Inhaling
Because
soul, right.
because if you just like live just as a normal ass Eldar, Slaanesh is like coming for you. It's like Michael Myers. It's always behind you. Forever. You have an anti-sea bear circle, okay, for your entire life. You have to carry that sea bear circle so you don't get like your soul ripped from your body. So it's just this never-ending like looming hand over your head. It's just like, come on.
Drop the stone, lose the stone.
Make the stone. You don't actually have to have it on your person. There's another way to do it. I'm not quite sure how that's done. You don't have to have like on you. It's not like you drop your marble and you're like, oh no, you die.
He's dead. He dropped his marble.
he dropped it. Got him. No, it's there's a whole thing to that. I'm not too familiar on the soul stone.
Flesh, dude. I'd meld that shit onto my chest.
I get it tattooed.
Yeah.
I'd have a little soul, a little marble on my arm, and it says "Mom." It's perfect.
Mom's protecting me from Slaanesh.
Mom protects me from your foul thoughtery, Slaanesh. The only other people that lived were a couple people who were chilling in the webway. And the Eldar webway, I mentioned the webway before, it's like the portal system. So you can have like your own realm in said webway. And so during the height of their empire, and by height I mean, their horribleness, there was a city in the webway called Komarog. And Komarog is just like it's a total fucking mess. It's like giant spires that are constantly shifting and adjusting, and time is all weird, and it's a mess. But that was like your pirate haven. You went in there if you wanted to do like some serious murder fucking. Like that was your bad man zone, right? You'd go there. That was your secret island where everything goes.
Man, how does murder fucking get worse exactly? Like what's more extreme than what was already going on? How do you get more bad mamma jamma?
You go from murder fucking to torture fucking.
Well, fair.
And so that's where they did all that fun stuff.
Fun stuff.
But a lot of the time when Slaanesh was starting to do their shenanigans, a lot of the Eldar attempted to flee into said webway to get away from everything going on. So those in the webway didn't actually get their souls consumed.
Okay.
But Slaanesh has like a little pinky finger. She's got a pinky finger, and she's pulling, and she's a cat, and she's pulling a mug off of a table. All right.
Somebody has to make that picture, by the way.
Somebody little pinky.
That fan art has to be made.
The Slaanesh cat. It ready to smack the fucking thing off the table. And that's them, like, it's pulling their souls. Mm-hmm. And those people in the webway were like, shit, we got a time limit. So
yep.
I'm gonna ask you, what do you think they did to stave off Slaanesh?
Can I answer before you potentially give me the choices? Can I take a
wild I wasn't
guess?
even gonna give any choices. Just go to town.
I'm gonna guess that they just didn't fucking do anything. They just kept on doing their hedonist bullshit, torture shit, and they just didn't care, and just Slaanesh got fat as fuck.
You are half right.
Oh.
Those in the webway are now known as the Drukhari, or the Dark Eldar, because they found out that they can keep Slaanesh's little pinky finger off of them by doing Slaanesh things.
And that's what they like doing already.
Yeah. So the reason why the Dark Eldar are so horrible, the reason why having the Dark Eldar enter your planet as a raid is the worst experience you could possibly have, is because they are keeping themselves alive. Because the more torture, the more maiming, the more murdering they do, the more Slaanesh won't attack them.
Okay. See, I had heard about the Drukhari and the Dark Eldar being horrible and being... I think on one of Shai's art streams, you told me about some of the just horrible shit that they did, and it was the worst possible experience. And I was just like, man, it must be because it's just Warhammer. You know, they're just one of those Warhammer factions that, they're just awful. But it's because they don't want Slaanesh to take them. I get it now. It makes sense now. Or they don't want Slaanesh to, like, attack them and the pinky finger to just... Gotcha.
It's a little bit of both. Okay, so we can be in agreement that elves are pricks, right?
Agreed. 100%.
Elves are douchebags. The Dark Eldar have more of a, like, we were the height of our society. This is our genetic destiny. This is who we should be. So it's like both. They don't want that to happen, but at the same time, they're like, well, we kind of like it anyway. And all those craft world boomers, they're a bunch of bitches.
It's a win-win for them.
Yeah, they're fine by it. Komarog is the main Dark Eldar city. That's the Dark City. The Dark Eldar, they go out to different areas and they raid, very piratey, kind of like they fly in on skiffs and they're kind of hanging off the side and they're firing and jumping off and attacking people. But they're mainly there for slaves. They're there to get slaves. They take you back. You get tortured for like 20 years, maybe longer.
I mean,
if they can keep you going.
Warhammer, that's not. Yeah, that sounds about normal. Yeah. It could be worse.
It could be worse. They do lots of things to you, lots of very bad things. They flay you and they remove your fingernails and they do all this kind of shit. But the main thing is that once they've exhausted your pain, once you like your mental state has just finally broken, they tend to turn you into like furniture.
Right. I remember you telling me about that.
Yeah. You can be like they'll take you and they'll like do some shit. I don't know exactly, but they'll turn you into like a couch or like a chair or something, and like they'll forcibly mold your body in that way. But they'll keep you alive. So if you go to like, it's called the homunculus, the homunculi covens, and the covens will have like a room, and they'll go sit on the chair. The chair will be like, ugh.
That's so fucked up.
It's just like a dude or like three dudes together, and he's just like, ugh. And so
that's so fucked up, dude. That's wrong.
So that's your life for like eternity. They keep you alive for like 1,000 years at that point. It's like, I hope you like being a chair.
1,000 years as a chair fused with like 3 other people. Yeah, I can imagine how getting raided by the Dark Eldar is it's worst thing that can happen to you in Warhammer, you think? Worst possible thing?
It's definitely up there.
Top 10.
It's probably number 1.
Ooh.
But we're getting a little bit off topic on the Dark Eldar.
Yeah.
Besides that, the Craft World Eldar are the other faction of Eldar. They have their soul stones. They themselves are trying to go a little bit back into the olden days of the Eldar. They're trying to kind of reclaim their old glory. They themselves are kind of a dying race, as are all the Eldar. They're all, not really to say dying, maybe I think they're kind of stagnant now, but they're certainly not improving very well, because every time one of them dies, their soul just kind of goes to Slaanesh. So,
oh yeah,
like you don't even get to pass into the warp calmly. You have to actually go through it, and Slaanesh will just take you. It's pretty horrible.
That sucks. Even if you have a soul stone, you just go right to Slaanesh, huh?
If you have a soul stone, when you die, you get put into said soul stone, and so the Eldar can preserve your soul so Slaanesh doesn't kill you. Right.
Oh, okay.
So that's how that is. So it's not ideal, but it's better than going to Slaanesh.
Oh God, yeah. I can't imagine if you're a boomer Eldar, I can't imagine there's anything worse than like dying and being like, well, guess I'm going to Slaanesh for an eternity of torture and pain and just.
Guess I'm doing the thing that I ran away specifically because.
Yeah, forever now. Great.
God damn it. The only other thing that we can go on to the Eldar, we could talk about slightly, is the Harlequins, which are demon clowns, so to speak. They're like demonic jester Eldar.
Oh yeah, I've seen their minis. Everybody complains about painting the checker marks and how hard that is to freehand onto their thighs because it's not. I guess it's not like a sticker or a decal or anything. You just get the mini and it's just a blank thigh or something, and everybody tries to checker mark them.
Yep, it's really fucking hard. But yes, the Harlequins are the last one. They themselves have a god, their own kind of gods. The Eldar have gods, like their own miniature gods, not the Chaos gods. Like about 5 of the 7 of them were killed by Slaanesh when Slaanesh arrived. But
wait,
there's
so
2
Slaanesh
left.
arrived and he didn't just kill the Eldar, he killed their gods too?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, Slaanesh is hardcore.
Yeah, Slaanesh is, oh boy. Eesh, that's a big suck.
It's a hard suck.
It's a big hard suck.
One of the gods, though, that did live was a god that no one can pronounce correctly. It's called Kegarok, or like Segarok, or something. It's the laughing god. It's the god of the Harlequins. And basically, that god likes to be a little douche and play. Remember that deceiver guy we talked about in the last episode?
Oh, yeah. Where you could
kind of like that.
He's one of their gods. Sure.
Yeah, kind of like that, where he's just like I'm gonna fuck with you. And so one thing he did was he like, they always talk about him playing pranks on Slaanesh, and one of them was rescuing a whole bunch of Harlequin souls so that they can't consume it. And so now he's got a bunch of Harlequins that are like not under the effect, which is cool, but he's kind of a shithead.
Yeah, why didn't he just save all the Eldar? Well, I guess he couldn't save all of them, but
he probably
he could. Yeah, but I mean, he could. He makes little raids on Slaanesh's, I guess, cabinet. His little food cabinet.
His food cabinet. Slaanesh fucking pantry.
Yeah, exactly. Slaanesh pantry of Eldar souls. He's like, boop, stole a cookie from the cookie jar, right?
Fucking Slaanesh is pushing the mug down, and in the background you've got Kegarok like in the pantry reaching into the cookie jar with like a fucking Bazinga grin.
Yes.
God damn it.
This should be some Adeptus ridiculous merch.
Oh, it's a good idea. I like that. The Kegarok cookie jar.
Yeah.
But the Harlequins themselves, they're kind of weird. They have like a demon jester vibe. When they fight, it's almost like a dance. They're constantly like twirling and spinning, and that's why they actually do the checkerboard patterns, because they move so quickly. It makes it really hard for people to fight them because they can't see them. Okay. Because of how like the checkerboard look, and they're constantly moving so fast. It's like blurred and blinding.
Right.
It's kind of cool. They have clown masks on as well. They always wear like creepy metal and gold masks that have like big smiling grins on them. The Harlequins are actually pretty awesome. They only have like 8 models on the tabletop though, which is a little unfortunate. But they're super weird and finicky.
So they're like the Cirque du Soleil of Warhammer.
That's not a terrible description, no, but a little more demonic, a little more murdery.
The Warhammer part brings in the demonic, murdery kill vibe, and yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
The Warhammer Cirque du Soleil, but without the fun family feeling.
So, all in all, Murder Fucked Into Existence, I'd say is a great, like, one-word explanation, because that pretty much is what happened.
Yeah, that sounds like exactly what happened, yeah.
So now you have a giant fucking zipper in real space that they've created that's causing problems. The Eldar are not extinct, but they are certainly very low population. They're one of the smallest races population-wise in the galaxy.
Oh, wow.
I think they actually are the smallest. I don't know if Tau is less, because Tau's generally new, but they're pretty small. Like, that's the odd part, is if the Imperium wanted to, if they legitimately wanted to wipe out all of the Dark Eldar, go into the Webway, go to Komarog, and kill them all, they absolutely could. The problem is that you spend that much like resources, that much stuff on dealing with the Dark Eldar, you're opening yourself up for the Orcs, the Tyranids, Chaos, etc.
Yep.
So
I'm curious if the Eldar had never gotten into like this murder fuck phase where they were just so stagnant and they just felt the need to do all this crazy shit and kill themselves, and they had never burst Slaanesh, would they be like a really prominent like thing? Would they be like the biggest thing in Warhammer? Like the biggest faction if they hadn't murder fuck Slaanesh into existence and they were just happy being the peak?
Well, it does depend, because the population of Tyranids and Orcs are immense, right? It depends on if you're referring to like the largest power or largest in terms of actual population size. Because the Orcs, I think, have the highest population in the galaxy.
Well,
but they keep murdering each other, so it doesn't really, you can't really tell. But the Eldar themselves, they might be, but you do have to wonder, like, would they have reawakened the Necrons faster? And would that have caused them a bigger problem?
Right.
The Tyranids have caused issues, because the Tyranids are actually a real pain for the Eldar, because all the Tyranids have the hive mind, which is part of the warp. Often, the reason why Tyranids are so terrifying is when they arrive to a planet or like near a planet, they have this thing called Shadow in the Warp, where they like cut off a section of the warp and they suppress it. So the only way to have interstellar communication is to use the warp. So if a guy is like, oh shit, bugs, he has to use his brain blast and go tell the Imperium that we're under attack. But the Tyranids they suppress it. They cut it all off. And it makes it very rough. So if you have Eldar and they're like all psychers, and well, the Drukhari aren't really, but like the regular Eldar are like all psychers, then that's a problem. That's a huge problem.
Yeah, it's a big problem for a psyker. Yeah. But yeah, I was just curious, because it's seems like the Eldar is like their motto is just self-inflicted wound. Like they did it to themselves. They they got stagnant, they murder fucked, and then Big Slaanesh came, did the big suck. Rat.
Yep. Pretty much. It's. I don't think there's not really any other major ways to describe it. It really just comes down to them boning each other way too much, creating a god, and now they're all in a very bad spot. Besides that, though, they are rather interesting in terms of like the tabletop gameplay. They're generally like hit fast, hit hard, but very squishy. Lots of psychic shenanigans as well. Glass cannons, pretty much. Yep. Especially the Harlequins and Drukhari. As for like a little bit of the lore, it's a little interesting because we didn't really talk about the Ynnari, which is a bit of an important topic, but I have to save all of the Gilliman memes for that, so I'll have to wait on that one. Because that's an important section.
Okay.
But often, if you had to choose any faction that works with the Imperium the most, it's probably the Eldar. Even though, yes, the Imperium hates aliens. They absolutely despise them. But often, they're more on the, all right, listen, we both hate chaos. Chaos is terrifying. Let's get rid of chaos together. Or, oh God, here come the Tyranids, bug boys. Mostly it's self-preservation.
Right.
But
they may
not
not
until,
like them, but they need them to survive. And
yeah, and like not until recently have they been working a lot more together, and that's with the Gilliman thing.
gotcha.
But yeah, Eldar, they're weird.
If they had just been content in their stagnation, none of this would have happened. But who's content with stagnation, right? Everybody's always, if it's a commentary or a parody on like you said, on us, it's like, you're always reaching for that next high. You're never happy at your current plateau. You're always, once those floodgates open.
It really is. And also particularly when it comes down to well, if they just didn't do this. Well, if the Emperor was a better dad, if the Emperor was a better dad, we would have also not had Chaos Space Marines. But alas,
he was a shitty dad.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that one probably not next episode. Next episode, I bet we're gonna be talking about the Emperor's Holy Crusade, which is a little bit too much like 1940s Germany Blitzkrieg. We talk about the Emperor a lot. The Emperor is not a nice guy. He might have like the best intentions, but he normally has like the best intentions by force kind of way.
Oh, know what they say, the path to hell is paved with good intentions.
Well, he's certainly not enjoying himself right now.
He's a corpse emperor now, so I mean,
Dude, he's chafing so fucking hard. Nurgle gave him an itch in his nose, and he can't scratch it.
Oh, what a douchebag! He can't scratch.
Besides that, though, I think we're good. Because I can't think of anything else. Anything I missed?
Yeah.
Well, there's plenty I missed, but that's because
sure. But it's been a nice overarching, just sort of a brief 1 hour summary of the Eldar and where they came from and how they got so fucked up. And boy, did they get fucked up.
They got so fucked up.
So fucked up. The big suck fucked them up. Ooh. But
you're starting to realize why the Silent King is kind of cool?
Yeah, starting to realize why the Silent King is kind of cool. I mean, last episode when you were talking about him, I already thought he was really slick. Not knowing anything else about him, he was already slick. But now, yeah, it's a somewhat competent leader that feels remorse and wants better for his people and doesn't just want to go off on a murder fuck orgy and doom your race.
Thank you everyone so much for watching this episode of the Adeptus Ridiculous, episode 3. If you are watching this episode on my YouTube channel, do be sure to check out the description to the first 2 episodes on Quiet Shy's YouTube channel, as well as the links to the official Adeptus Ridiculous YouTube channel itself. We will be uploading all the prior and all the future episodes there, as well as the various podcast sites. If you like listening to podcasts on many of the things like Apple and Spotify, there is a damn good chance that it's there. So you want to listen to it in the car, whatever you got going on, it would be an absolute pleasure. Besides that, my name is Bricky. We will see you next episode. DK, you want to shout yourself?
You can find me on DK Diamantes everywhere, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Real DK Diamantes on Instagram. Check out the Patreon, patreon.com/Adeptus Ridiculous if you enjoyed and want to support the podcast. Even if you don't, episodes will still be free. That's my show.
Hell yeah. All right, we will see you all next time.